You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file.
That doesn't sound too hard.
Boom! This is Making Tracks.
This is the way.
Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster.
I know these people. They are brutal. Does this look Jedi to you?
That's not how the Force works.
They'll never see it coming.
Count me in.
You're listening to Making Tracks. I'm Mark Newbold, and joining me today is a man who is looking at me right now. I mean, literally, he's looking at me right now. It's Mark Mulcaster. Mark, how you doing? Stop doing that with your eye. How you doing, Mark?
Damn it. I'm good, man. Yeah, very well. Thank you. Not a fan of eyeballs, then. I was giving you the
No,
old,
massively
like,
not.
No, you're not.
I couldn't watch Space 1999 and hide behind the sofa. It was too much.
That's more octopusy when they take the sheep's eyeball out and have a meal table. I was thinking it was like monkey brains in
Temple of Doom.
That's a bit minging anyway.
I could deal with that. My mum knew I didn't like eyes. Whenever I was playing up, she'd just pull her eyelid down and start staring at me.
Oh, really?
It freaked me out. Oh, yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I know what to do when you start talking for too long.
I was going to say, if I don't know if I'm good to going long, I'll just look at you pulling your eyelid down and I'll know it's time to shut up. How are you, Mark?
I'm all right, thanks, buddy. You know, I only saw you a few days ago. It feels like it was a few days ago. Yeah, at Echo Live. That was good fun. It meant I kind of came back Sunday, and I always kind of do this, kind of come back and I'm like, right, that's it. I'm going to rearrange the collection. And then I pull out everything I need to pull out of the room to give me space to do stuff, by which point I'm just like, I can't be arsed.
Yeah, so, totally. I hear you.
Yeah. One of the things I've been trying to do is consolidate some of my vintage bits and bobs and onto like more of like a single shelf. I was trying to find the little bits, like, you know, the erasers and toothbrushes and Oral-B guide to brushing your teeth that I did for like Return of the Jedi and stuff like that, you know, and just trying to find all those bits and also make a list of them so when I go to Echo Live in, I guess, October, I don't then start rebuying stuff that I've already brought, because I did find a couple of duplicates. I'm just like, damn it.
I did exactly the same. So I didn't buy a huge amount. I seem to spend a lot, but I didn't buy a lot. But I did buy 4 card backs. I've got most of them, but I didn't get all of them. Some of them I would have either had off friends as loose figures or bought them early on and threw the card away. It was only later, sort of Empire onwards, that I started keeping the card backs. So most of those are okay. This is my fault. I took a photograph and I thought I needed a Stormtrooper, Luke, 2-1B, Admiral Akbar, Emperor, Barada, and 2 of the Ewoks, Papalu and Lumat. So I got the card backs for Papalu and Lumat, got the card back for 2-1B, an Empire card as well. Had the little name cut out. Most of mine have got the names cut out because I used to send off for stuff, so I don't mind that at all. And then Stormtrooper, I got a really nice Return of the Jedi Stormtrooper card, and then got home, having looked at the photograph and realised it was Luke Stormtrooper, and I took a photograph of him with his helmet on. What a dick. The card I saw for Luke Stormtrooper, which I didn't even think about, was like 35 quid, and I don't want to pay that much. So duplicates. Yeah.
I mean, so we did a nice walk and talk, which probably was cut down quite nicely, I'd imagine.
It wasn't cut at all, mate. Everything we said was fantastic. Radio gold.
Dear. When we kind of parted ways, because you went off with Claire, I did pick up a Return of the Jedi carded Rebel Commando.
Nice.
So basically, if I can, I take stuff to sell on a table, which then basically pays to buy something there.
Smart.
I had some stuff and I sold it, and I was like, oh, well, that just gives me about enough to buy one vintage kind of figure, like a semi-decent. I mean, it's actually, to be fair, the bubble's nice and clear, Matt. I mean, it's a bit of a kink in the bottom of the card back, but it's not like the end of the world, and I'm just like, it's cool. It sits in its star case and it'll be fine. So I'm happy, because I want to get a few more Return of the Jedi carded figures anyway, you know, just because they're the most accessible really from a financial perspective. And actually also you can get all the figures on the Return of the Jedi card back, so you can almost get like a full run. So it might be a slippery slope to descend down, unfortunately.
Let's talk about a person that had a really, really cool action figure on a card back for Return of the Jedi, Warwick Davis. Yes. Warwick finally went to receive his OBE from Prince William. There's some great footage online of him actually meeting William. Warwick getting this, he got his BAFTA fellowship, He's been recognised in all sorts of arenas and avenues for the work that he's done in film since, obviously, Return of the Jedi. As he says, if his grandma wasn't in the kitchen and heard about the casting call, he wouldn't be here today. Or certainly he would be here today, but he wouldn't be doing what we know him for doing. But who knows? He was such a character, maybe he'd have just slotted into something else. But nevertheless, Warwick, as an actor, as a performer, as a personality as well, who's been in and around Star Wars for so long and so closely associated with it, it's very cool, isn't it, to see he's now an OBE. If he keeps rocking on the way he's going, he'll get a knighthood at some point, I would imagine, because, he's not slowing down, he's not stopping anytime soon.
Well, I mean, I think it's awesome, isn't it? And it's well-deserved because, like you said, it's not only for services to drama and acting, but also for the charity work he does with his Little People's Trust. I think that's probably more important, really, and I would imagine Warwick would say that as well. It affects his whole family. Obviously, he's made a lot of friends, and for us in the Stars community, we've supported that charity at like National Space Centre and other places. I mean, it's just fantastic, and it was quite funny on some levels actually kind of seeing the Prince of Wales kind of like kneeling down, but then you kind of forget that actually the Prince of Wales, like Prince William, is actually very tall. And actually I was talking to Karen and she's like, is that the kind of cool thing to do? I go, I bet there's a royal protocol for how this gets dealt with. They won't have just left it to Prince William to kind of work it out. This would have been a royal protocol that they would have made sure was all nice and smooth so everybody was comfortable and stuff. But I think it's nice. It's a lovely photo and massively well deserved.
Because he's been in so many Star Wars projects, and obviously he's Willow, in return for the TV show, and quite apart from all the Potter
and
stuff.
Harry Potter and all that stuff.
Yeah, Life is Short, Leprechaun. I mean, he's really done an incredible amount of stuff. He's always going to be one of our guys, isn't he? Because he came in as Wicket.
Yeah, there's some actors who can come into Star Wars and we'll know them as Star Wars, but everybody else may know him as somebody else. But yeah, Warwick Davis is Wicket. And even if he isn't, people refer to him as Willow. That's totally fine with me as well, because Willow's a great film.
Hi, this is John Morton from The Empire Strikes Back, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Another person that has recently been picking up awards, Harrison Ford, talking with NPR, he actually mentioned the thought of retirement. And to me, that seems absolutely crazy, the thought of Harrison Ford doing anything other than acting. But here's what he said about this prospect. He says, without my work, I really wouldn't know what to do with myself. I really do love the work. It constantly changes and the people change and the mission and the opportunity change. And it just makes for an interesting way to live your life. He also mentioned the acceptance speech that he got for his Lifetime Achievement Award last week. He mentions that and says, that speech that I wrote was not crafted to be emotional. It just happened to me. I feel slightly embarrassed by it because I have enough experience with these things to want to be able to manage, not to be overcome. I personally thought it was really sweet that he got kind of choked up about his career looking back. What do you make of that? The thought of Harrison Ford retiring seems crazy.
It's nice that we've been able to have Harrison Ford in as many films as we've had, and we're still able to celebrate him. On some levels, he's immortalised in celluloid. You probably watch, Indiana Jones as much as you watch Star Wars and stuff like that. That's Harrison Ford between the age of 35, 36 and 40 odd. But you forget, don't you? Time moves on for everybody. I'm certainly not as young as I used to be. And it was reminded to me the other day, actually, I saw a friend post something on Facebook. He's basically admitted to reading a book for the first time since his GCSEs. And he's like, can't believe it's the first book I've almost read for 20 years. I'm like, I know I'm crap at maths, but I think it was almost 30 years.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, I know. Oh, God, sorry to point that out, Terry, but that's just how it is. But yeah, it's nice, and actually, it's nice what he says about he thanks Callista and everybody who he's worked with over the years and stuff. So it was a nice speech, and I think also for Harrison, who has in recent years had that curmudgeonly, grumpy old man persona, probably put on more than anything. I think more for Jimmy Kimmel and those
exactly.
He did.
He was on Kimmel this week and he was doing the grumpy old man thing, and it was hilarious.
Exactly. Which is great, but it's nice to show that emotion, I think.
It is. I mean, he's not retiring. He's saying this, he's doing Shrinking. Shrinking really seems to have connected with him. He seems very into that, and so he should be because he's brilliant in it. Just the thought of him not being around. And he won't be around one day. Of course he won't. And maybe he will just knock it on the head like Sean Connery did all those years ago after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Just thought, don't need it. Yeah. But I can't see that with Ford. It feels like the acting craft has really engaged him now more than ever.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the craft. As you kind of get older, as you age out of those action hero roles, and actually, to be fair, action hero roles, I mean, he was still doing one only a couple of years ago with Andy Fiverman. You probably look back and you kind of appreciate the craft more as you get older because it's something that you can kind of connect with. But also, he doesn't tend to do many comedic roles. I mean, obviously, Han Solo and Indiana Jones, there's comedic moments, but more straight up comedy, as it were. I can't think of many films that he's done like that.
Not really. I mean, Anchorman 2, I suppose, he's a little bit in that, but he wasn't the star of that.
That's a kind of a cameo, isn't it, really?
Yeah, Morning Glory, the newscaster thing that he did, that was kind of comedic. But so he's definitely done bits. Working Girl, you could say, was kind of comedic, but for, as a flat out comedy, there's nothing specific. There's been moments of wit and humour, but now you see Shrinking, which is a dramedy. It feels like he's really in his element, and like you say, as a craft, as an actor who's honed his skills over years and years and years, and also as a very tactile, hands-on guy who does carpentry, it just feels very much like these two things are in his head anyway. They're a similar thing. He's got the tools to make these things, and as an actor, he's learnt the skills and has the acting tools to do better performances. And I'm sure if you sat down with him and said, or maybe not, I'm making an assumption, but my head's telling me right now he seems to be so involved and invested in what he's doing that you go, if you could go back 40 years and have another crack at that scene in Temple of Doom, would you play it the same or would you play it different? And I'm sure he would say, hey, Spielberg got what he wanted. We did 20 takes, so I'm happy with how it worked. But he actually also says on Kimmel that, when we see a performance on the screen, it's never as good as what he did in the moment on the set, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, no, very much. Actually, I saw a quote from him that kind of said pretty much the same kind of thing, where he said, sometimes we make entertainment, sometimes we make art. Sometimes we're lucky enough to make them both at the same time. And if we're really fortunate, we also get to make a living doing it. I think that kind of sums it up pretty well.
Hi, this is Dorian Kinji, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
So not long now until we get The Mandalorian and Grogu. And in that film, we will see, as Empire Magazine have shown with some images in the article they have out this issue, Pedro Pascal as Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, without his helmet on. And speaking about that moment, Pascal had a couple of things to say. He said, when we got to that part, all I can say is that it made perfect sense. And it was what I was hoping would be the reason. If I were to pitch something, I would say the only thing that makes sense is... And that's exactly it. He filled the blank. I said immediately, John, that's exactly what I was hoping to hear. And as Empire say in the article, cliche, this is the way. So we're going to see Pedro Pascal without his helmet on in Mandalorian and Grogu. We've seen it a couple of times in the series as well.
Yeah.
Understanding that Mando as a character and the type of Mandalorian that he is very averse to removing the helmet, but they've made reasons before. In season 1, he was injured and needed medical attention. In season 2, he had to remove the helmet because they needed the eye scan so he could get into an Imperial facility. We don't know what the reason is in this one, but Pedro seems very pleased about it. All that aside, what do you make of the fact that we are actually going to see Pedro Pascal's face? Favreau makes a very big point of saying that he's actually in the armour a lot more in this one than he is in the TV show. What do you think of that?
I think that on one pragmatic, slightly cynical level, there was probably conversations of like, we kind of need to see him, don't we? Not necessarily to prove it's him, but kind of to prove it's him.
Your name's above the title, Pedro. You need to be in the film.
Yeah, more than just a voice. I mean, it's not an animation, for sake, isn't it? I mean, it's not Toy Story. So my question to you then, what reason, barring brushing his teeth, is the reason why Din Djarin is going to take his helmet off?
He has got a perfectly looked after moustache. The hair's neatly trimmed. So clearly... he does quietly go away somewhere where he's all on his own and take the helmet off. Reason in story, you could pick any number of reasons why an opponent would need to see his face. And we do see in the trailer, it's certainly edited to look that way, that he's talking to the twins and they're kind of saying about, we'll deal with you and then we'll deal with him, meaning Grogu, or we assume it means Grogu. And Mando has that whole sort of serious look on his face. So I don't know whether it is just a moment where... in the same logic and the same way that putting Leia in the bikini in Jedi, the attempt was to humble her. I don't think Leia was humbled at all. Jabba was trying to embarrass her and sort of impose his will in a certain way. And I don't think she was buying it at all. You don't walk around with a figure like that and worry about being in a bikini. So I don't think Leia was bothered particularly about that whole scenario. I don't see any denigration or anything. She was probably quite fine with it. And it's Tatooine, it's hot.
It's warm, yeah. It's not like it was like Echo Base. I mean,
exactly.
If it was Hoth, she might have something else to say about
exactly that. If she's walking around in a one preferred bikini in the snow, then I'd feel a bit more sympathy for her. So I'm just wondering whether it's the Hutt twins are just trying to make him, they would know his creed. They would know he wouldn't want his helmet off. So that's why they take the helmet off. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought something similar like that would be a leverage thing. The only other thing would be to basically, because you kind of, even in the TV spot and the trailer, they kind of say, I mean, I can't paraphrase it because I can't really remember it, but basically it's just like, Grogu's going to be around a lot longer.
Yeah, the kid's going to be around for centuries after I'm gone. Yeah.
But then it kind of, like, it feels like, I think the next line, it almost feels like until I'm gone, I'm going to protect him. So you wonder if it's like, I don't know, he literally just put the helmet over Grogu to protect him or something like that. Literally. Bearing in mind what he had to go through to feel like he was back in the Mandalorian fold and stuff.
Well, when you went back to Mandalorian, the Mythosaur and all that.
Yeah. The Mythosaur. You kind of think that, it would be a big deal and it would have to mean something to him. So, and really, other than the Razor Crest, what else is there? It's a kid.
Agreed. I mean, we're going to find out soon enough. Obviously, we'll be talking about it on Reaction Chat here on Making Tracks and articles and reviews all through the site. And we're all very much looking forward to it. Hopefully, we'll start getting some news about how they're going to launch the thing. Although we've got more Shadow Lord before then, let's not forget. So we'll have plenty of coverage on that as well. But just exciting to know that, one, we will actually get to see Pedro. And two, the Empire Magazine article doesn't give a lot away. It really doesn't.
It won't do.
They'd kind of teased more in the hype for the magazine than is actually in the magazine. Although, actually, on that topic, there is one thing I can now reveal and not sound like a clown by saying it. A couple of years ago, myself and a couple of other websites sat down with Jon Favreau. We had it here on Making Tracks. When season 3 of Mandalorian came out, we stopped recording, all of us, and we had another 5 minutes chatting with Favreau. And one of the things that he did say was, I've written season 4, but we never recorded it, so we couldn't say it because it's just hearsay. How do you prove it? There's no way of going back and going, here's him saying it because we never recorded it. Mm-hmm. In the Empire Magazine piece, he actually says it again. We wrote season 4, but we decided to do a movie instead. So interesting that there is a season 4, and I'm curious as to what from season 4 was used in the movie, if at all, or whether they just went in a different direction or all of it. Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm just thinking the Obi-Wan thing, where Obi-Wan was going to be a movie, then they turned it into a show. It feels like maybe it's the other way around, but maybe not.
There was probably a couple of conversations. One of it was like, we need to get Star Wars on the big screen, and we need almost like a guaranteed win. The most guaranteed win you could get would probably, in this day and age, be a Mando film. Other than, unless you were to do maybe a Kenobi film, but that kind of in itself opens up a whole raft of like extra questions, and probably it's a lot more expensive because,
Ewan ain't cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Ewan's not cheap. And I'm sure Grogu's not cheap either, but you know, I think his agents have probably creamed at least an extra 10% on appearance fees for this film. Yeah, maybe they looked at it and went, actually, we could make season 4 of Mando, and it'll be 8 episodes long, or we could distill that story down into a 2-hour film, get rid of all the fluff, maybe the filler stuff.
Let's not have Jack Black and Lizzo come back.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And we've got a tight film. And if that's the case, I'm fine with that, because I did hear somebody kind of go, oh, you know, it's just probably going to be like 4 episodes of a TV series. And it's like, that's fine if it's 4 episodes of really good TV.
That's true. It will probably cost less. It doesn't. Yeah. It will cost less than a season of television, and it will make tens of millions of dollars more, you would think, than a season of television. So it makes all the sense.
Hi, this is Hugh Quashing. I've had great pleasure in recording this interview for Fantha Tracks.
Back to Surrey Star Wars Weekend, where myself and Paul Naylor attended. One of the people that Paul spoke to was Brian Herring. So here's Paul and Brian Herring talking all about, weirdly, Star Wars stuff here on Making Tracks.
So we're in Surrey, and I'm with the legend that is Brian Herring. How are you, Brian?
Legend in my own lunchtime.
How you doing?
All right, yeah. Surrey in a hurry. Here we are. Yes, very nice.
It's a good event, isn't it?
It's lovely. Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, lots of people out. Everyone's having a nice time. So you know, who could ask for anything more?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, many people from the Star Wars fandom will recognise you as BB-8. And also the dreaded little squawking puffins from
the porgs, you know.
Yeah. So how did the whole thing come about? How did your involvement in Star Wars come about?
My involvement with Star Wars started when I was 7 years old, and my father took me to see it at Christmas, and it blew my mind. Latterly, I suppose some 12 years ago, I was on a chance phone call with Neil Scanlon, and I mentioned that I was trying to find out who's got the Star Wars job and kick his door in, and he said, well, don't do that because I like the door where it is. And he said, don't worry, I'll find you something. He brought me on board as a puppetry consultant, and now I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Well, you know, this has got to be the peak of your career, talking to me, obviously.
Well, yes, absolutely. I shall remember this moment for as long as I can.
Longer than you would with Mark Newbold.
Exactly, I can hardly contain my indifference.
Love him. So, when you first saw the what BB-8 was going to look like, did you Did you sort of get it straight away? Did you think, yes, I can see what the personality of this
Well, we didn't see what it was going to look like until it looked like that, because it went through a very, very long design phase. And I think it came into my life. I've been on the film for a couple of months. We were doing R&D for things like the Lugabis and the Happer Ball. And then this little thing called Snow Globe started appearing. And Neil Scanlon asked me to sort of spend a bit of time with Josh Lee. And Josh had mocked up something that eventually became BB-8, and it was a ball with half a ball.
Based on Jake Lund Davis.
Which was, and Jake's stuff was all based from original designs by Christian Altsman. Right. So that kind of all fed in, and Martin Razard had a bit, put a bit of special sauce in the mix as well. But before BB-8 was completely formed, he was always a ball with half a ball on top.
Yes.
So I was given a polystyrene puppet version with a little head that moved, and Josh and I did some tests with it. I was wearing black. I suppose it was about maybe a foot high, this puppet. And so we sent some tests off to JJ. JJ really liked it, and I was kind of working with Neil to find a little bit of a personality, because I hadn't seen the script at that point. We just knew it was kind of a cute, inquisitive little thing. So we kind of messed around with that, and then JJ really liked it, and then it all became what it then became. So Matt Denton came on board, and Dave Chapman came on board, and we kind of just made the thing. We made it flesh.
But it took sort of 4 or 5 people to make it.
Well, there were a lot of people involved. I mean, if you can extrapolate the BB-8 team right the way out to the painters and the seamers and the mold guys and the computer programming on it, and all of the other people that made, and then the CG guys who got rid of me and took the wheels off the back of it, the other one, and then the guys who make completely CG versions of it. So there was so many different tools that made BB-8 what it was. And then it was weird, because when we were making, I think we were doing The Last Jedi, and JJ came to visit the set.
Right.
And we hadn't seen him since the movie had come out. And he said, "There you go, look at that." We had a little secret for. I think we'd made Force Awakens, and I think we'd almost finished Rogue One. And we may very well have been into The Last Jedi at that point. And The Force Awakens had come out the previous Christmas, and JJ said that was our little secret. He held on to that for like 2 years. Nobody knew what was coming. And then as soon as it came out into the world, it wasn't ours anymore.
It just belonged to everyone.
And then people were making it in their houses with 3D printers, and people were just making their own and pushing them around. So it was a fun thing. It was a weird little secret to have to keep for all that time. But it was lovely.
So have you been along to any of the droid builders events that Lee Towsey goes to?
I have. They keep inviting me up there. And I love the droid builders, because they always think I am a droid builder, which I know nothing. I can't wire a plug. So they always sort of start telling me what kind of processors are in it and what motors are driving what. I don't know what they're talking about.
They're great events, aren't they?
There are lots of fun. And so I got to know a lot of those guys. I think I'm an honorary droid builder. They've actually made me an honorary droid builder, but I have no clue what they're talking about half the time. It's all very, very technical and very clever stuff, and they do jump on stuff really fast about how to do stuff. Some of the B2s that they've made are absolutely stunning.
How did the Porgs come about then? Was that sort of like an early thought process for The Last Jedi?
I think that there was I believe the story is that they went to visit Skellig Michael, and there were puffins everywhere. And they were going to have to put something over the top of the puffins. And so it might as well be a Star Wars creature. And then I believe the day the crew got there, the puffins had all buggered off. So they then had these things, and also they are not exactly unmerchandisable. So,
no, exactly.
So that they came to us as little puppets. There were 2 people per puppet. But again, the Porgs are just I think with Last Jedi, I was involved in like a dozen different puppets and creatures and stuff like that. But the Porgs were the ones that really everybody went mad for. So they were kind of backbreakers really, because we were bent double doing them. And I worked with Dave again on the Porgs, and we had Damien Farrell and Colin Purvis, who were also a Porg team. And I believe Neil Sterenberg joined us at one point. And so we had these little puppets, and so there were little rod puppets, and then
Yeah.
there were little animatronic ones you just put down in the grass. And
A variety of different ways of doing
lots
it,
of different ways
depending
of
on
doing
whether
it.
it's
And then-
jumping up, squeaking
Yeah,
or whatever.
and then they would also go from being practical to CGI.
Yeah.
And the ILM guys would take over. Every time they flew anywhere,
Yeah.
they would CG.
And so as a lifelong Star Wars fan, you really have been living the dream, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, so you say that, I've told this before, but when we were out in Abu Dhabi making Force Awakens, I remember saying to Dave, I suppose we've been doing the film, we've actually been shooting for about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Dave, if I wake up and this has been a dream, I'm going to be pissed off for months. And I've been very fortunate, and it's nice to kind of continue to kind of be involved in stuff, outside of sort of that, working with Scanners on various other sort of projects.
Yeah.
And there's always with Beetlejuice and a few other bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And then sort of still around up the galaxy occasionally. Which is always nice.
Well, lovely chatting with you.
Always a pleasure.
Again, and good luck for any future projects that you might have.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
See you again.
Cheers, mate.
For everything in one location. Daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video and social media feeds. Bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
Last weekend, Kathleen Kennedy was awarded the MPSE Filmmakers Award at the Golden Reel Awards in Los Angeles, showing recognition for the work that she has done in the field of audio. She's very much been a proponent for the expansion and the improvement of audio in movies to the point where it tells as much of a story as the story itself or the visuals or any other aspect. It's very much up there with everything else. She also spoke about the succession plan, the infamous succession plan that, of course, has now been brought into effect. Brennan, Dave Filoni are now co-presidents of Lucasfilm. But she does mention that succession plan was nurtured over longer than people might think. She said, it didn't just happen 6 months ago. I spent 10 years talking Dave into gradually stepping into live action. He had so much experience in animation. He's so knowledgeable about Star Wars and loves it so much. It's really been a 10-year mentoring process for both of them. Lin-Man came out of Industrial Light and Magic. She was my GM the entire time. I would argue that the transition has been really seamless. Great to hear her say it, especially now that it's all in the past and she's out of the role. You can read her final interview in the last issue of Star Wars Insider, which is out in a couple of months' time. But, Mark, what do you make to that? One, she's a great advocate for sound. Yeah, it's something that we're both dealing with right now, being podcasters, doing stuff that nobody can see. But on the other hand, as well as that, she's talking about the succession. It was rumoured for ever and ever and a day. Certain people had the skin in the game that they wanted and not around anymore. Now you've got other people in place, but she's saying that succession plan was cultivated and nurtured. They didn't rush it. She was in no rush. And clearly they waited until the moment was right. What do you read into what she said? Or do you think it is just as she says it?
Well, I think it makes sense. I'm sure if I was to take over, I don't know, Sky TV. Yes, yeah. Okay, let's
just say you're the new boss of Sky TV.
I'm a new boss of Sky TV. 6 months, probably enough time. But if you've got a 50-year franchise and a production company with everything that goes with that, and also I think Kathleen Kennedy's been in the industry for years and years and years and knows probably everyone. If you've got a problem, I'm pretty sure Kathleen would be like, you need to speak to so-and-so. But don't necessarily know if Dave's got those contacts. So I bet part of that will be the networking aspect. Hi, this is Dave. Dave's great. He wears a great hat. You two chat, and then let him form his own relationships and networks. And that's kind of what you need, I think, for somebody who's going to take over Lucasfilm, really is to kind of have greater understanding of the industry in respects of like who's doing what, who's the up and coming talent, because that's what Kathleen was always good at, betting on new talent rather than just going and go, right, I know I can get Ron Howard to do a Star Wars film if I wanted to, but it's kind of taking bigger swings and risks to actually allow younger and newer talent to have a go. Whether or not it succeeds or not, that's when you need to have a broader shoulders and the shoulder pads to be able to take that flak and I guess just turn the other cheek when things kind of don't go particularly well as far as the fans are concerned.
Two thoughts occurring. One, if Dave Filoni was a few years older back in 2012, if he was the guy that he is now, do you think George would have brought Filoni in to be the new president of Lucasfilm? Do you think that somebody like Kathleen Kennedy, with, as you just said, the broad shoulder pad shoulders, that she's bulletproof, all the crap that's been thrown at her is probably just bounced off and she's not that fussed about it, I would imagine. She doesn't see a lot of it. Do you think Filoni would have been the guy for George? Or do you think going into the Disney era, it's not its own thing anymore? It's not an independent company. It's a part of Disney. Kathleen's got all the... You just mentioned it. You made a great point. She's got all the connections, all the knowledge. Anyone she can tap up. If she doesn't know it, she can tap them up. Not that there's much that she didn't know. But it's crazy to think that nearly 14 years in that role, and you could look at it as saying Filoni was always going to be the guy.
Yeah.
And not that she's been keeping the seat warm for him for 14 years. That's stupid. But do you know what I mean? There was a logical pattern of George and then Kathleen and now Filoni and Limmer and Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is Kathleen has the experience of actually working with big film studios.
Yeah.
If George has sold it 10 years later, would Dave be in that position? I mean, it kind of also depends upon how George would mentor and train Dave.
It was the in-universe stuff,
that's my
wasn't
point.
it?
George being George, God bless him, has a very pessimistic view of Hollywood and the studio system and all that.
Yeah.
And so you wonder if actually having George mentor Dave, to sound hyperbolic about it, poison him a little bit towards that, maybe make him slightly reticent to work with them. Ultimately, you'd think that George was always going to sell Lucasfilm to Disney. I don't think there was a world in which he wasn't going to.
But there's no non-Directors Guild directors going to be working for Lucasfilm today, whereas for George, it's kind of a prerequisite, wasn't it?
It was that independent, rebellious streak from the 70s filmmaking community that was being nurtured at the time that he was part of. But the industry has changed. Everyone wants and needs a franchise, and everything is a franchise these days. So that whole paradigm has shifted massively. So it's one of those weird what-if questions that you think, well, Dave would have been more of a story guy under George and continued to stay there. Yeah, so maybe this whole transition and having Kathleen in for the 10 years, it's a longer road to get to where we wanted to get to, as it were, but it was a road well travelled and probably much needed.
Never let it be forgotten that the highest grossing domestic movie ever in the United States, nearly $1 billion, was The Force Awakens under her watch.
Yeah.
But knowing that Lucas and Filoni had that very close relationship, and my gut feeling now, you see Lucas was honoured at the Saturn Awards while Hamill gave him the award, and there's George out there front and centre. And you imagine possibly when the Mandalorian and Grogu premiere happens, there's a good chance George will turn up at that as well. And so you're going to have a lot of the top brass floating around that premiere and the UK premiere if we get one, and places like that. I just think with knowing, not knowing personally, but understanding that Filoni and Lucas have spoke about various things, that Filoni will, and he has said this, will run things past George to go, does this fly? Is this kind of what you were thinking? Because that's still where you want Star Wars to come from, in the same way that artistically Macquarie is always going to be home base for Star Wars design. And obviously, story-wise, you would want to steer towards what George did because, good grief, that's the guy that caught lightning in a bottle. Why wouldn't you want to try and at least grab a little bit of that energy and move it into new stuff? So I just think, maybe as we move forward, the presence of George, you might just see him a little bit more. I don't know whether that means he's going to be involved. I just think he might just be around a bit more.
Do you know what? I want Melody and George to walk down that red carpet for Mando and Grogu, pushing a stroller with Grogu in it. That's what I want to see.
Hey, it's Kyle Newman, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
So last weekend was the 53rd Saturn Awards, loads of nominations for Star Wars, and luckily Star Wars The Galaxy Far, Far Away went home with a few awards. Andor won for Best Science Fiction TV Series, Diego Luna won Best TV Actor, Ravi Cabo Conyers won Best Young Performer in a TV Series, and George Lucas got the Dr. Donald A. Reed Founders Award, which is the big award that they give out at the Saturns, and it was given to him by Mark Hamill. Fantastic night for Star Wars, obviously. George now getting mentioned more often with things changing around at Lucasfilm somewhat, and the 50th anniversary racing up towards us. But nights like this, especially when you see the video and it's Tom Cruise shouting out, "Thank you, George." Pretty neat night, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was the kind of thing that really quite nice, wasn't it? Especially like a powerhouse in the industry like Tom Cruise. He can come to my Lifetime Achievement Awards as well. And I actually hope that Mark Hamill is going to be there to present it to me.
Yeah, I don't see why not, as the industry professional that you are. I mean, I think it's wonderful that a cameraman from Star Wars Starfighter would take the time to travel all the way to the Saturn Awards and give George Lucas a shout out, because basically that's what Tom Cruise is to Star Wars, isn't it?
Yeah, he's basically held a camera. so yeah. Do you see George Like, not necessarily coming back to Star Wars. Do you see George directing anything?
I don't think he'll get practically involved in that sense, but my gut tell, and this is completely my supposition, it's just my gut feeling, is that because there is that mentor sitting under the learning tree element, like Kathleen and George are contemporaries, but Filoni and George is the old cliche of Master and Apprentice, isn't it? By Filoni's admission, he just soaked up as much as he could. You know, you would hear him talk about it. So my gut tells me, and I could be completely wrong, George might just be like, oh, I've got my museum now, I'm good, I'm in my 80s and I just want to be away from it. But my heart tells me that you might just see him at these kind of events a bit more, or maybe, not that he needs it at his age, but just because it's Dave. I mean, I might be reading way too much into it, but that's the way it reads to me.
I guess it's wishful thinking, isn't it, really?
Very much.
On some levels, because, like, I mean, as you said, it's been like 10 years really since, well, over that, since he sold the company.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, and a lot of water's flown underneath that bridge. He's got his own kids and that now and all that. So who knows? I'd like to think so. I could kind of see if George is going to get a credit, it'll be some kind of like either producer or executive producer kind of credit on something. But then the thing is, if you bring George back in or involve George on an actual official level,
in any capacity,
in any capacity, you can kind of see that it kind of creates this kind of odd two-tier system of the stuff that George has been involved with is more authentic Star Wars and the stuff that he hasn't been involved.
We go back to the G-level canon thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. G-level, T-level, EU, and all the other nonsense. And you kind of think, well, no, not really. I mean, because like, he could have literally done what Tom Cruise has done in Starfighter, and he could have just walked in and gone, oh, I wouldn't put that camera there, I'll put it over there. Or like there's a lightsaber fight, like we know there's it's meant to be in
that's right,
Starfighter. Yeah, you've got to use two hands, not one, and that's it. It's directed by George Lucas.
Hey, this is Daniel Jose Older, and you are listening to Fantha Tracks.
A classic of the 1990s. It's coming back to PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch. It's Star Wars Dark Forces, but it's Star Wars Dark Forces Remaster. It's coming out from Atari, of all companies. Classic game from the mid-90s, a game that so many people played. I played a bit. I tended to watch more than play because I'm a lousy gamer. But Mark, it's a game that you have very, very fond memories of, isn't it?
Oh, the first PC Star Wars game that I played, it was Rebel Assault because it came bundled with my 486 or my what we used to call like IBM compatible, wasn't it? IBM compatible 486. Shortly after, I got Dark Forces, and oh my God, I was done after that. But, you know, for me, having played stuff like Doom and that, but to kind of get this first-person shooter in Star Wars, and not only that, being basically the opening mission is Rogue One before Rogue One's even Rogue One.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
You know, you're stealing the Death Star plans. It's just like, that is so freaking cool. And to this day, that opening mission is still one of my favourite. I always used to get a bit knocked off and a little bit stuck on the sewer level, which actually probably is only about the third or fourth level in, which isn't very far. But I mean, I cannot wait to get my hands on this. It's a bit like some of these other remasters where, like they did this with GoldenEye, which again was fantastic. The graphics have kind of been upscaled, but it's basically the same graphics. I'm assuming that hopefully they've been able to clean the audio up, because audio back in the mid-90s for PCs and computer games is not the audio that you would expect these days. But at the same time, it will appeal to certain fans, especially like nostalgic fans. But also for me, some of my first Power of the Force 2 figures I got was like Kyle Katarn on the Green Expanded Universe card backs and stuff, which I've still got in my cabinet in a star case. It's never been opened and it's in pucker condition. And then also you got the Kyle Katarn hardcover books, these kind of like spy ones. He gets kind of brought further into EU and kind of ends up becoming like a Jedi Master and sitting on there Luke's Jedi Council. So, you know, it's amazing. I mean, from where he started to where he gets to is fantastic. And I hope that actually this does really well, and obviously they put out Dark Forces 2.
That's the hope, isn't it? I mean, they do say in the blurb it's fully remastered through their proprietary KEX system. You'll enjoy the upgraded gameplay, high resolution textures, enhanced lighting and rendering, and support for gamepads. So they're definitely trying to make it as playable as possible. So all the things that they're tweaking up, they tweaked up the frame rate. You know, they're just doing different things to make it as smooth and as enjoyable a project as you can make a game that was designed in 1995 could be today. but keeping that initial, like you just said, if you change too much, it's not Dark Forces anymore.
You lose the essence, don't you? And that's it looks great. Like you said, the graphics, the actual quality. To be fair, it's like you remember, and that's the whole thing, isn't it? Like I can remember when I got my SNES Mini and I plugged in, and I had a rude awakening when I put on F-Zero, and I was like, oh my god, I was able to actually play this game. Because on a 65-inch TV, the graphics look wonky as hell. But I'll be playing this on my PS5 with a gamepad, so this will be exciting. It all looks crisp and really vibrant. I hope, all being well, I can do a little review for the site.
I'll totally want reviews on the site, and just the chance. I mean, for me, as I say, I wasn't a massive gamer. I collect games. Got the old original box and the whole thing. You mentioned the RBN compatible stuff, which was a little thing in the bottom corner on so many of those games. But just because it was part of the ecosystem of being a fan in the 90s, when so many things were developing, Hasbro and Kenner was kind of getting back into the game in the mid-90s. This was out, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, and that whole range of stuff. That's where I played more X-Wing and TIE Fighter than anything.
Yeah, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. I find TIE Fighter easier than X-Wing. And it might have just been my age thing, maybe. It might have just been like a difference of a couple of years. But all those games, I haven't played Outlaws for a while, but I loved Outlaws and I'm really enjoying it. But there's just something about those games, and it might just be an age thing,
maybe.
But maybe it's just like the immersiveness of it as well.
Here's a question for you then. As somebody who games a fair bit, and they did respect the original Battlefront 1 and 2. Battlefront 1 looked phenomenal. Battlefront 2 didn't look as good, but it played better.
Yeah.
Would you sacrifice quality of images and quality of design in that sense for improved playability, improved, the fact that the graphics might not be quite as fantastic, but the game can do more?
Like you, I've got all my PC Star Wars games, and I've still got my Dark Forces, and I can remember the second or third PC that I brought. In fact, it might be the one that I first built. I tried to play Dark Forces, and I managed to get it installed, and I had to do some kind of like hinky workarounds because I was on Windows XP or something. If this was playing on MS-DOS, everything was really, really twitchy because the processing was really quick. It's like you're playing everything on speed. It was crazy. And I could never find a way to slow it down. And I had the same issue with I think X-Wing and TIE Fighter. It would load, but you just couldn't play it. So for me, if I've got the ability now to just use my modern next generation console and be able to play these games, that's the dream. Because that's always the issue, isn't it? There's never backwards compatibility. Like with everything, they've realised that there is a market for these nostalgic games to be re-released, be it just digitally. I'm still playing Episode 1 Racer on my PS5. The difference is that I paid probably £8 for that or through the PlayStation Network. This is a little bit more of an investment. This is was it about 25-30 quid? Yeah. But it's not horrendous. It's not like you're paying the same as you're paying for a brand new game, which is 60.
You'd happily pay that though, wouldn't you, just to get that rush back?
100%. And I will probably go and stump up for it and get it delivered, because again, got to get it physical. Got to keep in the collection.
Like Olivia Newton-John said, let's get physical.
Physical. So, I think it's about time that we finish this episode of Making Tracks, because it's past my bedtime and it's time to go to sleep. However, I can't actually do this and talk at the same time. So, however, if you want to send in a listener's question, we'd be very grateful, especially if you've got any memories about your favourite Star Wars game that either we've mentioned or one that we haven't. We'd love to hear about it, and also your thoughts and ideas for what they could do next. What games would you like to see Star Wars come out with? Please send them in, and Mr. Newbold can tell you how you can do it.
Yes, we can, and here's how you can do it.
Email radio@fanthatracks.com. Head to links.fanthatracks.com for links to our social media feeds, Fantha Tracks TV and Fantha Tracks Radio. Thanks to James Semple for the Fantha Tracks intro, Blues Harvest for our Making Tracks opening music, and Mark Daniel and Vanessa Marshall for our voiceovers. New episodes drop Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 o'clock UK time. Our weekly news show, Good Morning Tatooine, goes live Sundays at 9 o'clock UK time on Facebook and YouTube. And remember, Fantha Tracks is absolutely free, so it costs nothing to stay updated on all the latest Star Wars news.
And that's been done for this episode, Mark.
Excellent. So anyhow, thank you so much for listening. You stay safe, and guess what? We will see you very, very soon. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Start Your Engines.